sports.
It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Prime Ticket presents the Dodgers as they take on the Washington Nationals. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Monday evening to you, wherever you may be. Hopefully this ball game will get your mind off the heat. For Washington, they'll provide more heat. They're one game back of Atlanta with one of the best pitchers in the game on the mound. That would be Jordan Zimmerman. His record is 6-1. His earned run average is 1.5, and he is 1-0 in his young career against the Dodgers. On the mound for the Dodgers would be Josh Beckett with a record of 0-4. However, lifetime he is 7-2 against Washington, and he has a 4-game winning streak. Dodgers go into this one 7 back of San Francisco with that modest little 2-game winning streak. For the Dodgers and Washington, Game 1 of the 3-game series. Hope you'll join us in person between now and Wednesday night, and we'll be back with the ball game and a whole lot more right after this. Dodger Baseball on Prime Ticket is brought to you by your Southern California Hyundai dealers. Come in and test drive the sleek, stylish Sonata today. By AT&T UVerse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PIC-ATT. And by Jack in the Box. The Chipotle Chicken Club combo is back for a limited time.
You heard Vince Scully refer to the heat down to 80 degrees. It was 100 in the valley, up above 90 here, but clear, a good place to chill and enjoy baseball at Dodger Stadium tonight. Steve Lyons, Chris Myers, and among the stars you'll see, Bryce Harper at age 20. He's been a Rookie of the Year already, an All-Star, and one of the fiercest swings you'll ever see.
Yeah, the changing of the guard has started in Major League Baseball with some of these young, phenomenal players coming up. Bryce Harper's one of those guys. Watch him swing the bat. We'll stop this first pitch right there. Look at him already loading up. That front foot's up, and then when the pitch comes, watch how ferociously he is going to unload on this pitch. Look at his hands loading up and then just crushing the ball. I mean, this guy swings like a little kid who's really, really upset at his big sister. I mean, he's not holding back. We're going to show you two different pitches, but look at all four angles of the swing you're going to see are almost identical, even though those are two different pitches. This guy swings like nobody in the game today, rarely gets fooled, rarely out on his front foot. Just really one of the tremendous young players in baseball today.
So as Josh Beckett looks for his first victory as a Dodger and a guy who used to throw really hard, how does he approach, given what he has, a guy like Harper?
He's going to try to fool him. He's going to take that big leg kick he has and throw him off-speed stuff and change-ups and get him to run balls away, get him out on his front foot, see if he can do that. Very hard to do because he has great balance.
And for the Dodgers' offensive attack, nice to have Adrian Gonzalez back in, brings a 9-game hitting streak to go with Matt Kemp's 11-game hitting streak.
Great to have the guys in the lineup that have been productive for you. Matty's coming around right now. Crawford, Gonzalez have been there already. This guy's a phenomenal pitcher that they're facing tonight in Zimmerman because of his fastball. He throws 96.
Jordan Zimmerman trying to become a 7-game winner, leads the National League in victories so far. Josh Beckett hoping to be on the winning side for the Dodgers. Vince Scully calls the game straight ahead. We'll be here post-game on Dodgers Live. Enjoy.
To you, wherever you may be, welcome to Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. The temperature high up and maybe even higher when you get two ball clubs like the Dodgers and the Washington Nationals rolling all over Dodger Stadium. a return of the manager of the year this year. That would be Davey Johnson, who managed the Dodgers in 1999 and 2000. He is the 5th Washington manager in history, and Davey announced at the start of the season this would be his last year. We'll take a look now at his lineup. Denard Spann leading off in center field, Steve Lombardozzi in left, Bryce Harper in right, and Ryan Zimmerman at third. Adam LaRoche at first, Ian Desmond the shortstop, Danny Espinosa at second base, Kurt Suzuki is the catcher, and Jordan Zimmerman is the pitcher. For the Dodgers, Josh Beckett, who is 0-4. He does have a 4-game winning streak, however, against the Washington Nationals, and in his career, he is 7-2. For Beckett, he's going to be looking at an offense, among other things. They will swing at the first pitch. Probably 30% of plate appearances, Washington will go after that first pitch. They like to bunt. They've had 5 bunt singles. They don't hit into double plays. And they're a formidable ball club. However, they do have a problem. Ryan Zimmerman, you would expect that they would be doing well in the power department. And on the sheet, they've hit 33 home runs to the Dodgers 26. However, they have not really had any great combination. Just like the Dodgers, for instance, would take Kemp and Ethier and have 4. Same thing, you combine some of the Washington ball players and you have the same low combination in home runs. So here we go. The leadoff man, Denard Spann, out of Washington, D.C. So born to play for the Nationals. And Beckett ready and deals, gets it in for a strike, and we're underway. For Denard Spann, a wonderful center fielder, is an even 6, 210. Left-hand batter waiting at the plate. Beckett holds the ball at the belt, turns on the rubber. Now Josh comes back, and a fastball foul to the screen. It is a summer's night here at Dodger Stadium. The temperature 84 degrees. So it's a gorgeous evening. Washington, they've been struggling back east in some poor weather. So I think the Nationals are delighted to play on a warm night. Beckett now with the count, no balls and 2 strikes. Josh looks down, getting a sign from A.J. Ellis. Long look. Beckett is a very slow and deliberate pitcher, and Spann says that's enough. So Beckett in no hurry to pitch. Maybe not as slow as Steve Traxel. You remember Steve Traxel when he pitched for the New York Mets? Well, here's the strike 2 pitch on the way. Spann takes a big slow curveball in the dirt. Steve Traxel was so slow that we were at Shea Stadium doing the ball game, and the Mets fans, the entire crowd, hollered in unison, "Throw the ball." I've never seen or heard it like that before, and Beckett might very well fall into that category any one of these days. 1-2 the count as he looks into Denard. Now the 1-2 pitch, and Spann lifts one into shallow right center, and that's going to land in front of Ethier. A pop fly single for the center fielder. So the batter now will be Lombardozzi, and we'll take a look at the Dodgers defensively. Adrian Gonzalez is back, along with Schumacher, Gordon, and Punto. Crawford, Kemp, and Ethier in the outfield. A.J. Ellis behind the plate. Lombardozzi hitting .228. If you compare the two clubs, Washington has hit 33 home runs, and the Dodgers have hit 26. So Lombardozzi, a switch hitter, batting left-handed. Beckett hands at his sides. Steve Lombardozzi is the son of Steve Lombardozzi. His father hit .412 in the 1987 World Series to help the Minnesota Twins beat the Cardinals. There is a little hum on the radio portion of the simulcast. We apologize for that. Trying to get rid of it. Some technical difficulty. Meanwhile, here comes Beckett's pitch, and it's low and away. Lombardozzi showed bunt and took it. Steve Lombardozzi out of Fulton, Maryland. Went to St. Petersburg Community College. An even 6 and a rather slim 170 pounds. So Lombardozzi with Spann at first. Beckett out of his stretch. Spann has stolen 5 out of 6, and Beckett goes over there, driving him back to the bag. On deck is Bryce Harper. And of course, you could spend half the evening talking about Bryce Harper and the fact that he is batting 3rd in the lineup. In fact, Davy Johnson is going to keep him in the number 3 slot all year, and that's really one for the books. Here's the 1-0 pitch to Steve Lombardozzi, and time. So Beckett is really slow tonight. 1-0 the count. Beckett looks in, getting a sign from Ellis. Now he comes to the plate and misses low and away. 2 balls and no strikes. One of the things the Washington Nationals have going for them, they've hit at least 1 home run in 68 straight series. The record, the Rangers homered in 77 straight, but Davey will take 68 and root for at least 1 in this series. 2-0 pitch, check swing at the plate, and it's low, ball 3. So for Josh Beckett, he gives up the base hit to Spann, now falling behind 3-0 to Lombardozzi, and then he's going to get Bryce Harper. Harper will be 21 years old in October. The 3-0 pitch on the way, and that's in for a strike. How rare is it to have a kid like Harper hitting 3rd? Well, for 57 years, Al Kaline belonged to a club in which he's the only member. At age 20, he hit in the prestigious 3rd spot all season long for the Tigers. So Harper will fall into that spot if he stays all year. There goes the runner, and the pitch is foul back. So Davey puts the run and hit on. Spann goes back to first, and 3-2 the count to Steve Lombardozzi. Because I remember 2 years ago talking to Davey about how long he was going to stay in the game as manager, and he said, we have some terrific kids. I really want to hang around and see them play. Well, some of them are here. So Lombardozzi waiting. They'll run Spann, I guess, after he was going 3-1. Sure enough, and another foul ball. So they've been playing run and hit 3-1, now 3-2. One area where Washington does not excel, especially, would be pinch hitting. Of course, it is the toughest part of the game. The Nationals have only a total of 7 pinch hits. That would be a batting average collectively of 146, and without a run batted in. No, they're the worst in the league. Spann draws a throw, dives back to the bag. Some of the things they can do, however, they have 9 home runs against right-hand pitching. And Beckett, right foot on the rubber, looks down to get another sign. You know Spann is going to go. The pitch at the plate is swung on, and that's fouled away. So it's still 3-2. So Denard Spann taking a few wind sprints. He started the inning at 6 feet. It'll be a little bit shorter after racing 3-1, 3-2, 3-2. Chances are he's going to be going again. So Spann off the bag. Beckett, hands together at the belt. Runner does not go, and the pitch is swung on and missed. Isn't that amazing? I mean, how could Davy Johnson know? He was running Spann 3-1, 3-2, 3-2, and each time Lombardozzi fouled it off. And then the time that they don't run Spann, Lombardozzi strikes out. 1 away. Well, here's Bryce Harper, who picked up his very first big league hit right here at Dodger Stadium. It was back on April the 28th last year. He doubled to center field off Chad Billingsley. So Harper, left-hand batter, and quite a young hitter. First pitch to Bryce, he takes it off the plate, ball 1. He is 6'3", 225 pounds, born in 1992. He went to the College of Southern Nevada, and he was drafted in the 31st round. They say he was playing T-ball at the age of 3 against 6-year-olds. Big swing and a miss, and the count 1-1. We were comparing the fact that Bryce, at his tender age, he won't be 21 until October, figures to be hitting third, and that would tie him with Al Kaline. So if he has any kind of an Al Kaline career, he's on his way to the Hall of Fame. 1 ball and 1 strike to Bryce Harper. Beckett, very slow, very deliberate, comes back high and away. 2-1 the count. Bryce Harper last year, you realize, was a teenager as he faces Beckett tonight. And last year, as a teenager, he had 22 home runs, most ever by a teen. Only Tony Conigliaro of the Red Sox hit more with 24. Harper fouls the pitch away, and the count stays 2-2. What was really amazing, too, for Bryce, his on-base slugging percentage was third all-time for a 19-year-old, putting behind my boyhood hero, Mel Ott, and Tony Conigliaro. So Bryce Harper, waiting at the plate, 2-2 the count, hitting .297. Out of a stretch goes Beckett, looks over at first, and goes over there. Span, who's been going back and forth on 3-1 and 3-2 pitches, still there, and Harper now gets deep into the count, 2-2. Bryce back up and waiting. Beckett set at the belt. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Span goes, and there's a ground ball base hit into right field. Span keeps on going and stops at third. So Bryce Harper remembers how to hit. His first one came here, and his next visit this year he singles to right. So Beckett is in trouble. First and third, 1 out, and Ryan Zimmerman coming up. Harper hitting a ball down and away and grounding it into right field. 2 Zimmermans on the club. We'll see Jordan on the mound, and we see Ryan at the plate right now. One of the notes about Washington, if they gets out in front, you're in trouble. They are 15-2 should they score first. And with 1 out, they have runners at first and third. So Ryan waiting, right-hand batter. And the first pitch to him is a ground ball to the hole. Nice pick at second base by Schumacher for the out. Scoring is Span, and Washington takes the 1-0 lead. So Schumacher takes a base hit away from Ryan Zimmerman, but he can't prevent the run from coming in.
25, Adam LaRoche.
So Washington very tough on the numbers. And again, in the games this year where they scored first, they're 15-2. Now Adam LaRoche coming up. Andy LaRoche, his brother, played for the Dodgers. Adam struggling right now. Born in Orange County, lives in Fort Scott, Kansas. Out of a stretch goes Beckett, a look back at Harper. Another check of Harper, the pitch at the plate, and that's in there for a strike, 0-1. We were talking before about combined home runs. If Matt Kemp and Andre Ethier, you put them together, you have a total of 4 home runs. Well, if you put Ryan Zimmerman and Adam LaRoche together, you have a total of 4 home runs. Adam, 6'3", 205-pounder, 34 years old. Ryan Zimmerman looks on, having knocked in a run, and the pitch at the plate a strike, and the count 0-1. For Adam LaRoche, he's a chip off the old block. He's the son of former Major League pitcher Dave LaRoche. Andy signed with the Dodgers back in 2003. No balls and 2 strikes to Adam. First baseman got a Gold Glove last year. Left-hand hitter, open stance, pretty much straight up, just tired of Beckett, and backs out. No balls and 2 strikes the count. 1-0 Washington in the first inning. Beckett ready. Gordon is directly behind Harper to take a step away from him. Beckett looks, now works the plate in the dirt. Nice block by A.J. Ellis, and the count runs 1-2. When Adam's father, Dave, was a pitching coach in the minors in Pittsfield, Adam was allowed to throw batting practice, and he showed enough on the mound as a high school player. The Marlins selected him as a pitcher. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, very high, coming up out of the crouch is Ellis to one-handed, and the count 2-2. But as Adam LaRoche said, they wanted me to be a pitcher. I want to play every day. I don't want to play every fifth day. So he became a player. He was the MVP of the Junior College World Series, and he was born to hit. He had 33 home runs last year. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Adam LaRoche. Beckett delivers, big chopper foul down to Tony Tarasco. Tony's a local boy. Went to Santa Monica High School. We remember when he played for the Braves. Over at third, Trent Jewett as the third base coach for Davey Johnson. Steve McCaddy is the pitching coach. 2-2 the count to LaRoche. Adam, by the way, has a 9-game hitting streak. Beckett, another look back at second. Now the 2-2 pitch to Adam LaRoche. Josh delivers inside. Ball 3. So he's making a lot of pitches, and he's only in the first inning. He's made 24 pitches. He and Desmond, the shortstop, is on deck. So Bryce Harper taking his lead from second, but because of Gordon, he can't get too far away from the bag. But at the same time, the whole left side of the infield is wide open. Outfield deep and straight away. And again, Beckett just holding the ball, and LaRoche backs out. 3-2 the count. Beckett, another look back at second. The 3-2 pitch is taken, strike 3 call. So Adam LaRoche is caught looking. They leave Harper, but they score Span. And at the end of half an inning, Washington won, and the Dodgers coming up. Dodgers now coming up in the bottom half, and it's Carl Crawford in left field. Dee Gordon, the shortstop. Adrian Gonzalez, he returns to the wars at first base. Matt Kemp in center. Andre Ethier in right. A.J. Ellis behind the plate. Skip Schumacher at second base. Nick Punto at third base, and Josh Beckett on the mound. On the mound for the Washington Nationals is Jordan Zimmerman. A big fella at 6'2", 215, out of Auburn-Durham, Wisconsin. His record is 6-1, earned run average of 1.5, and along with old Verlander, considered about the best pitcher there is in the game. So Jordan ready to go to work, and Carl Crawford takes a look at the strike, and we're underway. So Crawford hitting .315, 5 home runs, 9 runs batted in. Back comes Jordan, and it's swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. So Crawford, Gordon, and Gonzalez, 3 left-handers in a row against the right-hand pitcher, Jordan Zimmerman. The strike 2 pitch on the way, high and away. 1-2 the count. Jordan Zimmerman in high school was a standout football player. In fact, as a wide receiver, he was a coveted football star in high school, but he opted to go to baseball. Right-hander turns the 1-2 pitch, swung on and missed, and down goes Carl Crawford. So 1 away here in the first inning, and the batter will be Dee Gordon. Here's the Washington National defense with LaRoche and Espinosa, Desmond and Zimmerman on the infield, Lombardoza, Span, and Harper in the outfield, Suzuki behind the plate. So 1 away, and Dee Gordon now trying to light a fire, hitting .267, 1 home run, 4 runs batted in. Few things about Jordan Zimmerman as a pitcher, and the first pitch is high, ball 1, 1-0. Normally he pitches deep into the game. He averages 7 1/3 innings per start. The 1-0 pitch, and that's a little high, ball 2. He's had 6 quality starts out of 7 starts. 3rd lowest rate of home runs. He doesn't walk hitters. His 2-0 pitch, however, is in there for a strike, and the count 2-1. One of the big improvements from Jordan from last year to this, he's getting right-hand hitters out. A bunt. Charging the bunt comes Ryan Zimmerman to throw him out. So Gordon drops 1 and Ryan nails him. And we have 2 down in the first inning, and the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. 1-0 in favor of Washington in the first inning, and the Zimmermans take care of Gordon. Jordan on the mound, Ryan at third. For Zimmerman, working now on Gonzalez. We mentioned his big improvement. The big improvement for him, and we're talking about Jordan, is the fact he's getting out right-hand hitters. Last year, they hit .250 against him. This year, right-handers are batting .177. So Zimmerman facing Adrian Gonzalez with Matt Kemp on deck. 1-0 Washington, first inning. The 1-0 pitch, and that's high and away. 2-0 the count. Adrian Gonzalez 1 for 6 in the past against Jordan Zimmerman. Now the 2-0 pitch on the way is swung on, banged into right field, base hit. So Harper is up with it, gets it back in, and a 2-out single by Gonzalez means he's now hit safely in 10 straight. And the batter is Matt Kemp, who has hit safely in 11 straight. So Gonzalez got a ball down around the knees. He loves that spot and pulls it into right field. Matt Kemp against Jordan Zimmerman, 2 for 6 with a home run, hitting .277, 1 home run, 14 runs batted in. Matt with that 11-game hitting streak and 1,000 hits in his career checks in at the plate. Zimmerman out of his stretch, looks over at first, comes to the hitter, ground ball to third. They'll get the force. Well, Matt Kemp barely hung around to be introduced. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of an inning, Washington won and the Dodgers nothing. The Nationals leading the Dodgers 1-0 as we go to the top of the second inning. For the Dodgers, they pretty much had their way with Washington last year. Remember, they won the 3 straight here, and they've won 17 of 20 since 2006. But look at the Brewers in Pittsburgh. They've beaten them 50 out of 60 in Milwaukee, and the Dodgers have done a good number on the Pirates, 23 out of 29. So in the second inning, Ian Desmond will start it off. The shortstop, right-hand batter checking in. Beckett turns on the rubber, and the first pitch to Desmond, good curveball in for a strike. 0-1. Desmond hitting .296, 6 home runs, 17 runs batted in. I love his mother's name, her full name. Here's the strike one pitch coming up. Beckett's breaking ball is swung on and missed. 0-2. Ian's mom's name is Patty Paradise. All right. And she had a great deal to do with him making it to the big leagues, working 15 hours a day at least as a hairdresser. Here's the strike 2 pitch coming up. Beckett's another slow breaking ball foul back. I guess it's a case of you're going to get it until you can prove you can hit it. He started him with the slow curve, and he stayed right with it. Desmond, 6'2", 210 pounds. 27 years old. He'll be 28 in September. Originally signed by the Expos, but of course remember Washington used to be the Montreal Expos. Here's the strike 2 pitch on the way, and it's off speed and low, ball 1. 1-2 to Ian Desmond. Montreal picked him in the 3rd round, and he's been playing in Washington since 2009. Beckett rocks, turns, right-hander deals, slider away, and they count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Josh Beckett surrendered a run. Bryce Harper set it up with a base hit to right field. Span scored on a ground ball. Would have been a base hit. Schumacher took a hit away from Zimmerman. 2-2 pitch, off speed, pulled to third. On it is Nick Punto and makes the play. So we have 1 out in the second inning. And Espinosa coming up.
Second baseman, number 8, Danny Espinosa.
Danny Espinosa will face Beckett now with 1 out, second inning. 1-0 in favor of Washington. Espinosa with Suzuki hitting behind him. Danny struggling, hitting just 189. 3 home runs, 12 runs batted in. He followed Troy Tulowitzki at Long Beach State as the club shortstop, and he was signed out of Long Beach State by the Nationals in the 3rd round back in 2008. Local boy, Danny's from Santa Ana. He played with Evan Longoria at Long Beach State. So the switch hitter, Espinosa, batting left-handed, takes a strike, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. For Espinosa, hitting 190 right, 189 left. So he's hurting. Last year with the Nationals, he hit 247. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Beckett's slow curveball drops in for a strike at 72 miles an hour. Little rainbow curveball with a pot of gold at the end of it. 1-2 to Espinosa. Nationals lead 1-0. We're in the top of the second inning. Kurt Suzuki, the catcher, on deck. Beckett back with a fastball, and that's fouled straight back into fastball alley. 1-2 the count. Espinosa was told about 2 years ago, Davey Johnson said, "I'd like to see you bunt more," but I'm not sure if he has. But Davey said Rod Carew probably could have bunted 300. Takes in at the kneecaps, and a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Espinosa, the switch hitter, said, "I used to hit the ball real well in the minors. I was a better hitter left-handed than I was right-handed." Not much difference in his numbers now, however. 2-2 pitch on the way. Danny takes slow curveball. Strike 3 call. So 2 out, second strikeout. Now make it the third. 3 strikeouts now. And Beckett will be going to work on Suzuki. So Josh gave up a run in the first inning. Now with 2 out in the second, the Nationals catcher checks in, batting .243, 2 home runs, 9 runs batted in. Suzuki was born in Hawaii, Wailuku, and takes a strike, 0-1. Went to school here, Cal State Fullerton, and was originally drafted by the Oakland A's back in 2004. Wailuku, by the way, is on the island of Maui. The strike 1 pitch on the way, and that's in there. As they say over there, Maui no ko oi, Maui is the best. Well, Suzuki came up with the A's back in 2007 and has pretty much stayed in the major leagues ever since. 5'11", 195. No balls and 2 strikes. Beckett into the windup, back with a slider, grounded to short. Gordon is up with it, kind of double pumps, and then throws him out. So Suzuki grounds out a 1-2-3 inning for Beckett, and at the end of an inning and a half, Nationals 1, Dodgers nothing. And singled to right with 1 out. Harper singled him to third. Ryan Zimmerman lost a base hit on a big play by Schumacher, and the run came in. Jordan Zimmerman gave up a base hit in the first inning, but that's all. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in 14 consecutive road starts. So Jordan Zimmerman made 12 pitches in the first inning, and we'll see what happens now against Ethier, Ellis, and Schumacher. Andre Ethier hitting .254, 3 home runs, 11 runs batted in. We mentioned earlier that Jordan Zimmerman much more effective against right-hand batters than he was last year. Same thing this year. Last year, left-handers hit .246 against him, and this year they're batting .186. So Ethier checks in. Jordan, both feet on the rubber, turns ready and comes to his hitter, and there's a ground ball to first, backhanded by LaRoche, and the Gold Glove takes it to first. So Ethier hits the ball hard, sharply to first, and we have 1 away. A.J. Ellis will be coming up.
Number 17, A.J. Ellis.
Another thing that Jordan Zimmerman has been doing, and let's face it, with a record of 6-1 and an earned run average of 1.5, he's doing everything about right. But he is working through the 3 through 6 spot hitters in the lineup very, very well. That's the heart of the lineups, and they're hitting .222 against him. So Zimmerman ready now, in his first pitch to A.J. That finds the mark, and the count 0-1. So Ellis grinding it out most days, hitting .294. 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in. He has a look at another strike. Jordan has walked 9 and struck out 35. So almost 4-1. 0-2 the count. Zimmerman back and gets it. Fastball inside corner. Strike 3 called. Well, that's the second strikeout for Jordan Zimmerman. And the batter will be Skip Schumacher. So a great pitch, $1 million pitch to hit the inside corner. I always remember Greg Maddux, who was as smart as they come. And Greg always said the toughest pitch for a right-hander is to throw a strike to a right-hand hitter on the inside corner. He works away to Schumacher. 1 ball and no strikes. Skip made a fine play to take a hit away from Ryan Zimmerman. This time he hits a ground ball to short, and the throw to first in time by Desmond. So that didn't take long. 1-2-3. And at the end of 2, it's 1-0 Nationals. Another look at the Dodger calendar just to keep you abreast of what the team is doing. This is game 1 of a 3-game series with Washington. Dodgers hit the road then, Atlanta, Milwaukee, and come right back and play the Cardinals and the Angels. So make your plans, and we're looking forward to seeing you out here. Jordan Zimmerman will start it off, and he has a look at a pitch off the plate, ball 1, 1-0 the count. He has 1 hit this year, 1 for 16. Beckett, who surrendered the first inning run, turns on the rubber, and the 1-0 pitch, another fastball, uppercutted and missed, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. They talk about what a great competitor Jordan Zimmerman is. Well, 6 years ago, he pitched through a broken jaw and pulled wisdom teeth to get his college along in a big game. He takes low. He suffered the broken jaw while pitching batting practice. They wired his mouth shut with 11 screws, and then he went out and pitched. It's really something. 2-1 the count to Jordan Zimmerman. Beckett's fastball is high, ball 3, 3-1 the count. Josh speeding up the tempo a little bit here. after a very, very cautious first inning. His 3-1 pitch, Jordan looks, and it's ball 4. So Jordan Zimmerman, 1 for 16, draws the walk. The batter will be Span. And a reminder, don't miss Matt Kemp bobblehead night tomorrow. The Dodgers and the Nationals. And the first 50,000 fans in attendance take home a mini home run posing Kemp bobblehead. Compliments of United Healthcare. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. So Span coming up. He singled to right field to lead off the game and eventually came around to score the run. Zimmerman a short lead at first, barely off the bag, and Span takes on the outside corner for a strike. Denard Span, born in Washington and playing for the Nationals. Hitting .278, 11 runs batted in. He suffered a price his first year in pro ball. Span was hit in the head by a pitch, but he fought his way back. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Span swings, doesn't get it. 0-2 the count. Denard, born in Washington, lives in Tampa. He was a first-round pick by the Twins, and he made it to Minnesota 5 years ago. Spent about 5 years with the Twins, and this year moved over here. Key member of the U.S. junior team that finished second in the Pan American tournament in Cuba years ago. Denard Span. Strike 2 pitch, swung on and missed, and down he goes. I think Denard asking the plate umpire, Mike DeMuro, did I swing at a strike? And the answer had to be, I doubt it. So Davey doesn't bunt. He has his leadoff man swing away, and with 1 down, the batter is Steve Lombardozzi. Lombardozzi struck out in the first inning. Out of a stretch goes Beckett. Works the left-hand hitter low, ball 1, 1-0. That's a full name. You need a broad back to carry it. Of course, we just left Hechavarria. He was here. The 1-0 pitch, and Steve checks up. Dodgers look, no swing. 2 balls and no strikes. Jordan Zimmerman at first base, held on by Adrian Gonzalez, although he has no movement at all about thinking of running. He barely gets off the bag. The 2-0 pitch coming up to Lombardozzi with Bryce Harper on deck. Pulled on the ground under the glove, and Gonzalez threw into right field, and Zimmerman will hold on at second base. I would say 8 out of 10 Gonzalez makes that play. His glove came up as if he expected the bounce, and he never got it. Stayed down, went under the glove and into right field. So Zimmerman at second, and here comes Harper. First and second, 1 out, top of the 3rd inning. And the Nationals leading 1-0, and that will be an error charged to Adrian Gonzalez. So now Harper, with all of those glistening credentials, ready to check in and do more damage. His base hit in the first inning set up the run. Harper, left-hand batter, tired of waiting, backs out for the moment. Beckett ready and delivers, and Bryce swings, doesn't get it. 0-1. We were talking about him being the next Al Kaline, a teenager batting third and staying that way for years and years. Kaline started hitting in the number 3 spot in 1955, and in the 6th game he hit 3 home runs, including 2 in 1 inning. Strike 1 pitch is low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Harper at 19 became the youngest position player in history to win the National League Rookie of the Year award, as well as the youngest player in the All-Star game. Bryce waiting, 1-1 the count. Out of a stretch goes Beckett, and the pitch is off the plate. Ball 2, 2-1. The youngest pitcher to receive both honors was Dwight Gooden of the New York Mets. And both, interestingly enough, Bryce Harper and Dwight Gooden were managed by Davey Johnson in their rookie years. 2-1 the count to Harper. 2 on, 1 out, 1-0 Nationals. Beckett set at the belt. Harper waits, takes away again, ball 3. So Beckett trying to hit the outside corner, trying to dodge a long ball. Bryce Harper has hit 10. On deck, Ryan Zimmerman. Harper 10 home runs, 21 runs batted in. Now the 3-1 pitch coming up. Beckett, very deliberate, looks back at second, staring at Zimmerman. And the pitch to Harper, same spot, outside, ball 4. So he obviously didn't want any part of Harper and walks him to load the bases. Almost every pitch just outside. And Harper would not bite. So now the bases are loaded on 2 walks and an error. And here is Ryan Zimmerman, who was robbed of a hit by Schumacher. And Beckett's pitch count is up to 56. So Ryan Zimmerman, he and Andre Ethier have something in common. They each had a 30-game hitting streak. Ryan did it in 2009. Big guy takes a breaking ball off the plate, ball 1. Ryan Zimmerman is from Virginia Beach, born in Washington, D.C., and he is big, put together at 6'3", 230. He was a first-round pick out of the University of Virginia, and he has 3 grand slams. 1 ball and no strikes. Beckett delivers. This one is low. Ball 2, 2-0. Back in 2009, Ryan Zimmerman had 33 home runs, 106 runs batted in. He was an all-star. He got his first Gold Glove, and he also got his first silver bat. The 2-0 pitch coming up. Beckett ready. Here he delivers, and it's hit in the air to right field. Ethier has to go back. It's over his head and up against the wall. In comes Jordan Zimmerman. Right back of him is Lombardozzi. Stopping at third is Bryce Harper. And there are runners at second and third. 2 runs in the bank. And the Nationals lead 3-0. So Ryan Zimmerman short hops the wall right in front of the visiting window of the bullpen. A lot of power the other way. So a long double to right. All Ethier could do is turn his back and get position to field the carom. So Zimmerman doubles in a couple. That gives him 3 RBIs. 3-0 in favor of Washington. First base open, and here's Adam LaRoche. They have to be careful first base open because LaRoche is starting to hit in the month of May. Adam swings right through the first pitch and fouls it. 0-1. In April, Adam LaRoche hit all of 136. But now in the month of May, as he stands at home plate, he's batting .382, so he's elevated that batting average to .209. He has a 9-game hitting streak, and he struck out in the first inning. So Harper down the line from third, Zimmerman away from second, 3-0 Washington. And the strike 1 pitch on the way in the dirt. Nice save by A.J. Ellis. So you would have to say the Dodgers really have a mountain to climb. Not only are they down 3-0, they're facing one of the best pitchers in the game in Jordan Zimmerman. And Rick Honeycutt is going to get on the phone, and in a moment somebody will have to get up in the Dodger bullpen. 1 ball and 1 strike the count to Adam LaRoche. First base open. Harper and Zimmerman are out there. And the 1-1 pitch to LaRoche. Beckett delivers, ground ball wide of first. Up with it is Gonzalez feeding Beckett. Scoring from third is Harper. And that makes it 4-0 in favor of Washington. Taking third on the play, Ryan Zimmerman. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Javi Guerra begins to loosen up. So the Dodgers now buried under a 3-run inning and a 4-0 deficit. The batter is Ian Desmond. Zimmerman coming down the line from third. Desmond, right-hand batter, tries to hold up. It'll cost him a strike anyway. 4 runs, 3 hits. There were 2 walks, an error, and then the inevitable hammer hit, a double off the window of the visiting bullpen by Ryan Zimmerman. 0-1 to count to Desmond. Beckett delivers, swung on and missed, 0-2. Interesting to look at Desmond's numbers. In the daytime this year, he's hitting only .217. At night, he's hitting .349. Well, he is grounded out, and now he's up there with an 0-2 count. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Beckett's fastball is up, ball 1, 1-2. Four runs, 3 hits, no errors for Washington. No runs, 1 hit, 1 error for the Dodgers. The 1-2 pitch coming up to Ian Desmond. Beckett's pitch is off the plate, fastball away. With a runner at third, as we always do to check the wild pitches, Beckett does not have a wild pitch. Meanwhile, Ryan Zimmerman visiting with Trent Jewett, the third base coach. Javi Guerra down in the pen getting ready. And the 2-2 pitch coming up. Fastball fouled off. By the way, Beckett is due to bat second when the Dodgers come up in the bottom of this third inning. So the Washington Nationals doing pretty much what they do. They get runs, they get out in front, and then they're virtually unbeatable. At least they're 15-2 in games this year where they jumped out to the lead. So Jordan Zimmerman watching Ryan Zimmerman come down the line from third. The 2-2 pitch to Ian Desmond, swung on and missed, and down he goes. Enough damage, however, as the Nationals pick up 3, 1 hit, 1 error, 1 left. And at the end of 2.5, 4-0 Washington. And a reminder, why not bring the family to Dodger Stadium for Memorial Day, Monday, May 27th. The first 15,000 ticketed kids 14 and under in attendance receive a Clayton Kershaw-themed Dodgers Fathead, compliments of Northrop Grumman. Visit Dodgers.com/promotions. And bring your appetite. Darn right. 4 runs, 3 hits, no errors for Washington. No runs, 1 hit, 1 error for the Dodgers. Luis Cruz is out on deck, so Josh Beckett made it through 3 innings and obviously will be lifted for a hitter. So Nick Punto starts it off and takes a strike. 0-1 the count to Nick, who has just turned in a remarkable job wherever they played him. And to, I'm sure, a lot of people's surprise, he's hitting .338. Punto takes a strike, outside corner. 0-2 the count. I mean, Punto was the guy carrying the satchel with the money. And he's been playing up a storm. 1 home run, 8 runs batted in, fouls it away. Waiting on deck, Luis Cruz. Jordan Zimmerman has a lot of weapons out there on the mound. 4-seam fastball, 2-seam fastball, good curveball, and he's high to Punto. He also has a straight changeup. He doesn't throw a lot of them, maybe a half a dozen in a game. But the 4-seam has such great movement, as he said, I don't understand where it's going to go. Punto pulls one into the crowd over the head of Davey Lopes. Still 1-2 to Nick. The season started, I mean, no one really thought Jordan Zimmerman would become that kind of a pitcher. In his career, 24 wins, 26 losses. But all the pieces have really fallen into place. The 1-2 pitch inside, Punto leaning away. 2-2 the count. 4-0 Washington in the third. Breeze blowing from left to right. A welcome breeze. It was 84 degrees when the game started. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Poke foul upstairs off third. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes. Two and 2 the count. Now the pitch, check swing on a pitch in the dirt. No swing. So that'll run the count to 3-2. Washington got Zimmerman out of the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. He was the Nationals' compensation pick for the loss of free agent outfielder Alfonso Soriano. And it turned out certainly to be a blessing for Washington. 3-2 the count. Big right-hander over the top, and the fastball is promptly whacked into center. So Nick Punto, a line drive single to try to lead the Dodgers back. And now here's Luis Cruz coming up. For Punto, he was 2 for 5, hitting .400 against Jordan. So he just went after that fastball with a vengeance and singles to center. So Luis Cruz coming up, and there you are. You're a kid hitter. You're struggling. You're hitting .088, and the manager says, "Hey, get a bat and go up there." So Cruz facing Zimmerman, and the first pitch taken a little low. Ball 1, 1-0 the count. So for Josh Beckett, 3 innings, 4 runs, 3 hits, and he's had to leave. Javi Guerra getting ready. The next one a little high to Cruz. 2 balls and no strikes. Luis looked down to Tim Wallach. Waiting on deck, Carl Crawford. Zimmerman ready, and the 2-0 pitch on the way. Cruz swings, chopper up the middle, over to get it. Desmond on the bag for 1, throws to first, double play. When the ball left the bat, you thought it had a chance to get up the middle, but there was no steam back of it. So Desmond, the shortstop, just caught up to it, and it's a 6-3 double play. So Jordan Zimmerman trying to go 7-1. By the way, he is 3-0 against teams above 500. for the month. The pitch to Carl Crawford is low, ball 1. Going back on Jordan Zimmerman to 2010, he was averaging a little more than 4 innings, making 79 pitches before he'd be gone. Next pitch is foul back. In 11, he went 6 2/3 innings, and he averaged 95 pitches a start. Last year, he averaged 6 1/3 innings and 97 pitches per start. This year, he is averaging 7 point, and the same thing. Fly ball to left field, coming in to make the catch is Lombardozzi. So he is consistent, and he is a strong candidate, especially leading right now at the end of 3, 4-0. Dodger Stadium last year. This year, game 1, they're leading 4-0. And at the range, Davey Johnson, the current manager of the year. Davey, with a record of 1,300 career victories, won the World Series for the New York Mets in 1986. 2-time manager of the year. He also managed the Dodgers in 1999 and 2000. How about this one as Javi Guerra begins to warm up? This has to do with Davey Johnson. In 1966, Sandy Koufax gave up his last hit ever. You know who got it? You're looking at him, Davey Johnson, in the 1966 World Series with Baltimore. Yep. He said goodbye to Sandy. A shattered bat, they can say goodbye to the bat. The throw in time to get the hitter, and that'll be good for Espinosa. Boy, that bat came apart, and Nick Munto made a good play to throw him out. So Punto backhanding and then in foul ground nails Espinosa. One away. Kurt Suzuki, the catcher coming up, he grounded out. So Javi Guerra charged with the responsibility, throwing strikes, keep the game close, see if something wonderful happens. Javi made 18 pitches on Sunday against the Marlins. And he misses ball 1. In fact, to be absolutely accurate, make it Saturday. 1 ball and no strikes to Kurt. He tapped a short in the second inning. The man from Maui. 2-0 to count. The Nationals began the day with a little 2-game losing streak. They lost 2 in a row in Chicago. Dodgers, you know, began the day with a little 2-game winning streak. The 2-0 pitch very high. 3-0. 4 runs, 3 hits for the Nationals, no runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. That's a strike. 3-1 to Kurt. Breeze still blowing out left to right. And a high fly ball into left center. Kemp and Crawford. It's Crawford. 2 down in the 4th inning, and that will bring up Jordan Zimmerman. Jordan Zimmerman walked in that 3rd inning and eventually came home. A 3-run inning. Right. Foul ball. No balls and 2 strikes to Jordan Zimmerman. He'll be 27 the 23rd of the month. Whoa, good fastball took care of him. So Hobby just went right after him. Hit 94 on the gun. It's a 1-2-3 inning. And we go to the bottom of the 4th. 4-0 Washington. Ticket is brought to you by your Southern California Kia retailers. Visit mysocalkia.com. By AT&T, rethink possible. And by your SoCal Ram dealers. Visit ramtrucks.com. Bottom of the 4th inning, it's 4-0 in favor of Washington. They scored in the 1st inning when Span singled with 1 out. Bryce Harper singled him to 3rd. Ryan Zimmerman was robbed of a hit by Schumacher, and Spahn, he scored on that ground ball. And then in the 3rd inning, a couple of walks, an error by Adrian Gonzalez, a double by Ryan Zimmerman, and that set the kids dancing since they weren't paying attention to the game in the first place. It's 4-0 in favor of Washington, and the Dodgers trying to come back with Gordon, Gonzalez, and Kemp. D. Gordon tried to bunt his way aboard, was thrown out. Nice play by Ryan Zimmerman. They're not related, by the way. 0-1. Along the chalk, but foul. No balls and 2 strikes to count. The pitching for the series, and remember, this is the end of the homestand. So Dan Herron tomorrow night will go against Clayton Kershaw. And then Wednesday night, Russ Detweiler will go against Matt McGill. Dodgers then go out to Atlanta and Milwaukee and come home to play the Cardinals and the Angels. Strike 2 pitch is hit into center, base hit. Where in the world was that pitch? I think it was up around his eyes, and Zimmerman just decided to take a walk. He was so frustrated. He kind of looks over at Gordon as if to say, how dare you hit that pitch? Though D will take it any way he can get it. Up there. And he was able, strong enough, and Zimmerman just looks at him as he goes to first. So Gordon singles, and the batter is Gonzalez. So the Dodgers now trying to get something going. They have a Firebrand at first, and they'll certainly keep an eye on him. 4-0 Washington. D. Gordon has stolen 4 out of 5. Adrian Gonzalez single to right field in the first inning. So Adrian is 2 for 7, hitting .350 for the year, 2 for 7 against Zimmerman. Off speed, the change. He'll throw that 5 or 6 times. 1 ball and no strikes. One 0 pitch on the way. And there goes Gordon, the slow breaking ball for a strike. The throw is into center field. So Gordon is up and at him and into third base. So the Dodgers need a Firebrand. They need something to get them started. And it's Gordon trying to do just that. A stolen base and takes third on the error. Kurt Suzuki's throw into center field. Desmond trying to knock the ball down. Good breaking ball for a strike, but a bad throw. So Gordon's at third, nobody out. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Adrian Gonzalez. 4-0 Washington, bottom of the 4th inning. And a fly ball, actually a pop fly, and it's going to be caught by the second baseman Espinosa, who hurries it back, and Gordon holding at third. So Gonzalez unable to pick him up as Espinosa goes way out to handle the pop fly. Now Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp the other night collected his 1,000th hit. And in the Dodger record books, and talking about people with 1,000 hits, Matt Kemp, 28 years, 231 days. Willie Davis, Steve Sachs, Raul Mondesi, Steve Garvey, and Matt Kemp. But the 3-dog led them all. Matt trying to pick up Gordon. 0-1. Kemp went after the first pitch in the first inning and hit into a force play. Kemp came into the game 2 for 6 with a home run against Zimmerman. No balls and 1 strike. And off speed and got it in there for a strike. 0-2. Matt in a hole. 14 runs batted in. Trying to pick up Gordon. So they got the off-speed pitch, and then Zimmerman came back with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Interesting how they talk about Jordan Zimmerman, that he actually pitches well, better, when men on base. This year with runners on base, they're hitting 190 against him. Fastball blew him down at 94. Whoa. I mean, that had to be like swinging at a nickel. High fastball. That was kind of like the pitch that D. Gordon hit into center. That's why Jordan Zimmerman couldn't believe that Gordon could have hit it. And then he shows that Matt Kemp can't. So 2 out. Gordon holding at third. And here's Andre Ethier, grounded sharply to Adam LaRoche in the second inning. 2 out, 4th inning, 4-0 Nationals. The change misses, ball 1. That change at 75. Gordon walking down the line from third. The 1-0 pitch to Ethier, swung on a one-hopper, bad hop. LaRoche stays with it, throws to his pitcher covering. Oh, what a play was that. Wow. That thing exploded. No wonder Adam won a Gold Glove. Either that or a trip to the dentist. Gee whiz. So Ethier has hit 2, and he's 0 for 2. The Dodgers fail to score, and it's 4-0 Washington. By Adam LaRoche. Wow. That ball was hit so hard, took a bad hop, knocked him on his back, and then while seated, he threw accurately enough. But that thing exploded. He just did get his face out of the way, as we said. If he doesn't, it's a trip to the dentist at least. Remarkable play. You think about the eye-hand coordination, and that ball was hit so fast, came at him so quickly, and then exploded. And he was able to react. Really remarkable. With all of that, Zimmer made 12 pitches, and he's only made 45. That's a strike to the leadoff man, Denard Span, who singled to right and struck out. Span, Lombardozzi, and then Harper. Oh, 0-2. Washington 4 runs, 3 hits, 1 error. Dodgers no runs, 3 hits, 1 error. Dodgers able to get 1 man to third. Base hit, stolen base, throwing error, and he stayed there. Gordon. Span single to right and struck out. Ball 1. Apparently those who have watched him play a lot say he plays center field like a piano. I mean, he is just so graceful and makes it look so easy. 1-2. Fouled away. The Washington Nationals. The newspapers naturally need space, so a lot of times they just call them the Nats. 1-2. I'll tell you one thing about Denard Span. It was in spring training. A dead fish fell from the sky and landed at his feet. Yeah, it's true, honest. 1-2. Fouled away. He was working out in the outfield, and he was absolutely shocked by a falling fish out of the sky. And then he was really frightened because the osprey who had dropped the fish started circling and diving down. So he finally picked up the dead fish and threw it over the fence, and that did it for the osprey. Fun and games in the outfield. 1-2. Fouled away. I mean, just imagine how you'd feel. You're out there shagging fly balls, whatever, and all of a sudden a dead fish lands at your feet. 1-2 to Denard Span. It's 4-0 Washington, and we're talking about dead fish. Well, what are you going to do? Light breeze blowing to right. It's been Beckett and Guerra picking up for him. Jordan Zimmerman for Washington. Off speed, fouled away. Denard Span, born in Washington, lives in Tampa, grew up in Tampa. As we mentioned briefly earlier, had a bad way to start off his professional career. He was hit in the head by a pitch in the Appalachian League. One and two. So he's going to wear Guerra out. That was 94, and he still got a little bit of it. Denard came up with the Twins in 2008. Stayed with them through last year. And then came over here. One and two. Fastball away at 94. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Denard Span. Guerra picking up. Be facing Lombardozzi in a moment. Two and two. And whack foul down the line. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes. This is a 10-pitch at bat so far. It will be the 11th pitch fired by Guerra. 2-2. Up time. And line to center. Kemp comes up, makes the catch. That was hit right on the button. So an 11-pitch at bat. Fly ball to center. And the batter will be Steve Lombardozzi. It was a good at bat for sure for Span. Lombardozzi struck out, hit a hard ground ball that got under the glove of Adrian Gonzalez for an error, and that set the tone. It came with 1 on, 1 out, and before the dust settled, Harper walked, Ryan Zimmerman doubled, and it was a 3-run inning for Washington to break the game open 4-0. Lombardozzi hitting .220. Boy, he, as they say, waited on that pitch at the last second. Just flicked at it, fouled it off. 0-2. And a high bouncer up the middle. Gordon can't get it, neither can Schumacher. They almost collided. That's kind of a no man's land area, especially Two ball players hustling to reach it. Dodgers are fortunate they didn't have a collision. So Schumacher and Gordon, look at this. It is that close, and it'll be a base hit. So the expression in baseball, that ball has eyes. That one certainly had eyes. And the batter will be Bryce Harper. Harper battling. So much is expected of him, and he's so young. And he has done well. I mean, he's hitting 310 home runs, 21 runs batted in. Ball one. He is struggling against left-hand pitching. He's hitting 147. Last year he hit 240 with 6 home runs against lefties. And whatever it is, Atlanta is pitching him differently than they did last year. Last year he hit 5 home runs against Atlanta. This year he's hitting less than 100, 087, which of course is the way it is in the big leagues. You play, and then they adjust, and it's up you to adjust. Bryce Harper. 2-0. Ball 3. Waiting on deck, hitting behind Harper is Ryan Zimmerman. And the question is, will they let him swing? 3-0. And off the plate. That's exactly where Beckett pitched him and walked him in the third. Well, right now it's time for our Twitter poll of the two super sophomores. We're talking about Mike Trout and Bryce Harper. Who do you think will have the greater career? Well, think about it. Two kids are marvelous. Tweet #vote and then either the name Trout or Harper, and stay with us for results. There they are and what they're doing.
Third baseman, Ryan Zimmerman.
Two marvelous young players. 2 on, 1 out. Ryan Zimmerman robbed of a hit by Schumacher and double to right, and a strike. So he burned Beckett trying to pitch him away. Show you how strong Ryan is. He hit just under the window of the visiting bullpen in right field. And I mean, hit it hard. Oh, and 2. Ryan Zimmerman, an all-star, gold glove, silver bat. Zimmerman is 28. He'll be 29 in September. So they have some wonderful players under 30. And line foul. So if you pitch him away, he's going to go that way, and with something on him. He's 6'3" and 230. Lombardozzi back to second. Harper to first. 1 out. 4-0 Washington, and we're in the 5th inning. Ryan's rookie year was his big year, 2006. In 2006, he was only the 3rd National League rookie in 53 years to post 100 or more RBIs. He had 110. Who were the other two? Mike Piazza in 1993, Albert Pujols 2001. Little tapper back to Guerra. He goes behind Gordon and throws it into left center. So 1 run will score, and there are runners at second and third. So Ryan Zimmerman hits back to the box. Guerra is looking at a double play. Only he threw behind Gordon, who is covering. Big chopper. Fire. Whoops. Gordon can't get his glove on it. Scoring is Lombardozzi. Over to third goes Harper on the error. It is 5-0 in favor of Washington. Now they have runners at second and third, and with first base open, Adam LaRoche. So Gonzalez made an error, and that led to a 3-run inning. They're going to play the infield up and pitch to LaRoche. And the first one at his feet, ball 1. Adam LaRoche has a 9-game hitting streak, struck out and grounded out. LaRoche, 3 home runs, 11 runs batted in. 1 out. The 1-0 pitch very high. It might be one of those things. Let's give him 3 out of the strike zone, and if he doesn't chase any, then we'll put him on. You have Ian Desmond, right-hand hitting shortstop, on deck. 2-0 the count. And ground ball, base hit. So that drives in Harper. That'll stop Zimmerman. It is 6-0 in favor of Washington as LaRoche bangs one into right field. So now you have first and third, 1 out, 2 runs in, and the Nationals 6 runs, 5 hits. Dodgers no runs, 3 hits. Base hit to right field, run batted in. So Adam now is hit in 10 safe, and Bryce Harper's back in the dugout. Desmond has grounded out and struck out. And ball 1. So in the inning with 1 out, after an 11 pitch at bat by Span, Lombardozzi singled and Harper walked. The comebacker, and Guerra throws it into center field. Then the base hit to right, put it all together. It's a 2-run inning. D. Gordon going to the bag, but no way he could twist and come back and grab that throw. 2-0. 2-1. For Javi Guerra, this will be his 30th pitch in the inning. He's made 38 pitches since he came on in relief. And a strike. 2-2. Guerra is due to bat 4th when the Dodgers hit in the bottom of the 5th inning. Two balls, 2 strikes. First and third, 1 out. Check swing. They'll look. No swing, says Ted Barrett. For Javi Guerra, his career high of 40 pitches, and he has just reached it. Here comes 41. And it's ball 4 to load the bases. More grief and more agony for the Dodgers, especially for Don Mattingly. And the batter will be Danny Espinosa, who has struck out and grounded out. Rick Honeycutt going out to try to help. So in the inning, that Span at bat, that took a lot out of Javi Guerra. That was an 11 pitch at bat, and then followed by Lombardozzi single, the walk to Harper, then Javi's throwing error, then the single by LaRoche, and the walk to Desmond to load up the bases again. So 6-0 in favor of Washington, behind one of the top pitchers in the game, Jordan Zimmerman. Remember, Zimmerman's earned run average is 1.5. So the Dodgers are really going to have to climb a mountain tonight. And Zim just taking it all in quietly in the dugout. Espinosa struck out, and Punto made a good play to throw him out in the 4th inning. J.P. Howell gets up in the Dodger bullpen. As we told you, Guerra due to bat 4th in the bottom of this inning. And that's ball 1 to Espinosa. On deck, the catcher, Kurt Suzuki. Espinosa has 1 grand slam in his career. And there's ball 2. So Javi Guerra has gone beyond. In his career, most pitches in a game, 40. He's now made 43, and he isn't finished at all. 1 out, bases loaded. Zimmerman, LaRoche, and Desmond out there. And the 2-0 pitch to Espinosa. Fouled away. Danny has hit safely 6 of his last 8. Tomorrow night, the Dodgers will look at Dan Herron. Clayton Kershaw will be on the mound. 2-1 to count to Espinosa. Ground ball speared by Gonzalez to the plate for 1. No further action. So Espinosa hits into the force play with Zimmerman cut down 3-2. Everybody moves up a notch. So LaRoche goes to third. Desmond advances to second. Espinosa at first. And the number 8 hitter in the lineup, Kurt Suzuki, coming up. Suzuki is grounded to short and fly to left. Suzuki is also the 8th man to come to the plate. And a strike. Washington a run in the first, 3 in the third, 2 in the 5th. Suzuki has 1 grand slam in his career, with Messrs. LaRoche, Desmond, and Espinosa out on the lines. 1 ball and 1 strike. Detweiler and McGill will be pitching Wednesday night. But tomorrow night, Dan Herron against Clayton Kershaw. 1 ball and 1 strike. And that's going to go into right field. Ethier makes that running catch. So when it's all said and done, Washington picks up 2, and at the end of 4.5 leads 6-0. Reminder, spend your summer at the ballpark with the Dodgers 10-game summer plan. They're great matchups with the Giants, the Red Sox, the Cubs, and the Yankees. For more information about the Dodgers 10-game summer plan, visit Dodgers.com/mini-plans or give us a call, 323-DODGERS. Well, it would seem insurmountable, but that's why people come to see baseball games. a fellow with the mastery of Jordan Zimmerman, with a record of 6-1, with a brilliant earned run average of 1.5, is leading 6-0 in the 5th inning. We'll see. A.J. Ellis, Skip Schumacher, and then Nick Punto in that order. By the way, Javi Guerra made 39 pitches in the 5th inning, a total of 48 pitches while he was in there, a career high. Ellis struck out in the 2nd inning. Fastball on the inside corner got him, and he gets a fastball right away at 93. 0-1 the count. Check swing. One thing for sure, hitters do not swing at the first pitch. Not often against Zimmerman. That's a strike, 1-2. Also, if they get on, base runners don't steal against him. 2 of 3. That's all. 2-2 the count to A.J. Ellis. Tried to get that inside pitch this time and missed by a lot. So 3-2 the count to A.J. Ellis. That was a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Waiting on deck, Skip Schumacher. Boy, one thing, the people in the right field pavilion, they've been getting that nice breeze all night and taking advantage of the breeze. A drive to deep right field over the head of the right fielder Harper, who's banged up and is lying on the ground out there as Ellis goes into 3rd and hold everything. That wind was blowing the ball to right, and Harper kept going back, and he hit the scoreboard. And you can see cut his forehead. I believe that's a cut. So the young 20-year-old, a potential superstar, trying to go back with his team leading 6-0. Going to clean off a little dirt on that cut. Or maybe it's not a cut at all, just dirt. I hope. So that wind that has been a favorable breeze to the people in the pavilion just kept on blowing that ball. And so Harper kept going back. And the next thing you know, the scoreboard hit him. They want to make sure that he's in top shape before they make another move. Is that blood on his neck, I think? I think maybe is he wearing a chain? I think the chain cut his neck. But they're asking him the usual questions. Where are we, etc. So Espinosa and LaRoche out there talking to him. They show it on Diamond Vision, and a groan comes up from the crowd. It's a high fly ball, but it's up into that wind. And Harper never turned until the last minute and just ran face first into the board. Right there. Now Harper, I think, has convinced everybody that he wants to stay in. And let's see if he starts walking off. And now he is walking off. So Harper crashing into the wall in right field. I think that chain around his neck is what cut him. I would have to guess. Or maybe in front of that scoreboard, do they have like a hurricane fence, a wire fence? And I think that's what happened. He hit that wire fence. One of the outstanding young players. And all I can think of in watching him walk off the field after that is a name that is a legend in Dodger history, an outfielder named Pete Reiser. And Pete Reiser was a magnificent player. I mean, he was a switch hitter with everything imaginable. And sooner or later, the injuries kept piling up, and Pete had to call it a career. So we trust and hope and pray that that certainly will not happen to Bryce Harper. This is his introduction to the right field wall at Dodger Stadium, and we certainly pray it never happens to him again. Roger Bernardina will now finish up in right field for Harper. So Bernardina in right field. The Dodgers have Ellis with a leadoff triple and Schumacher trying to pick him up. And a strike. We've talked about Pete Reiser before. He had so many injuries. Number one, playing in small Ebbets Field and a couple of the smaller ballparks, he was forever crashing into walls. If you took the insurance actuary tables, eventually you could say that Pete Reiser was accident prone. There's that wire in front of the scoreboard. I'm sure that's what probably led to the cut. Reiser also broke an ankle taking a lead at first base. He just turned, stepped on the bag, and broke the ankle. And then, sadly enough, when he was all finished playing, he was barbecuing in the backyard, and the propane tank blew up in his face. Little ground ball that gets the run in, and the out at first. So the Dodgers get a run. Schumacher picks up the run batted in. It is now 6-1 Washington, and the batter will be Nick Punto. If we get any further report on young Bryce Harper, we'll pass it along. First ball swinging, ground ball to Espinosa, second out. Now Tim Fedorovich will be coming up. Fedorovich will hit for Guerra.
Your attention, please. For the Dodgers, pinch hitting, number 18, Tim Fedorovich.
FedEx, as they call him, 1 for 11 since being called up. The second Dodger pinch hitter, Luis Cruz, came off the bench and hit into a double play in the third inning. So 2 out, fifth inning, 6-1 Washington, and that's a strike to Tim Fedorovich. Down in the Dodger bullpen for the second time, J.P. Howell begins to warm up. 1 ball and 1 strike. And that's in for a strike. 1-2 the count. Six runs, 5 hits for Washington, 1 run, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Fedorovich goes down. So the wind-blown triple and a run, and at the end of 5, 6-1 Washington. 6, the Dodgers made a deal with Cleveland that absolutely shook the borough of Brooklyn. They got Sal Maglie. Now you have to remember, Sal Maglie pitched for the New York Giants and was absolutely hated. They should have had his picture on the walls of every post office in Brooklyn. Anyway, they make the deal for Maglie. He not only is a success at 39, he pitches a no-hitter, he wins 13 games, and he leads the Dodgers to win the pennant and into the World Series. Amazing game it is. Let's go back to this one. Washington leading 6-1. J.P. Howell will pick up now and misses to Jordan Zimmerman. 1 ball and no strikes. Howell, the third Dodger pitcher. Jordan Zimmerman walked, scored a run, and struck out. So it's been Beckett, Guerra, and now Howell. They're going to look. No swing, says Ted Barrett. 2-1 to Jordan Zimmerman. Three and 1. Zimmerman on the bases and touched them all in the third inning. That's in there. 3-2. J.P. Howell 1-0. 7 walks, 12 strikeouts. 3-2. And a hopper into left field for a base hit. So Jordan Zimmerman, who is hitting about a half a buck, comes up with his second hit of the year.
Batting next, number 2, Denard Span.
Here's a Major League update. The Cubs pounded Colorado 9-1. Atlanta, with Justin Upton leading the way. Atlanta beat Upton's old club, Arizona. Well, not quite. They're in the 8th inning, 7-1. The Cardinals did beat the Mets. So Zimmerman at first with a base hit to left field. Right. 6 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for Washington. 1 run, 4 hits, 2 errors for the Dodgers. It's been Beckett, Guerra, and Howell. Missed away, 1-1. Tomorrow night, Dan Herron and Clayton Kershaw. Dan Herron with a record of 4-3. Bit of a high ERA. It's a little over 5. For Clayton Kershaw, 3-2. An earned run average of 1.6. Sound like a cracked bat and a ground ball foul. Yep. Didn't break. But us bad hitters remember that twang. So 1-2 the count. Denard Span singled to right, scored a run, struck out, and then I think took an awful lot out of Javi Guerra in the 5th inning. Remember that great at bat he had, an 11-pitch at bat before he lined out to center. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 6-1 Washington in the 6th. In the dirt, nice block by AJ. Zimmerman is not about to do any running if he can help it. He's got some pitching yet to do. 4 more innings of it. Meanwhile, Steven Strasburg, who lost a heartbreaker in Chicago. Gio Gonzalez also lost a tough one 2-1. So they came in here with a 2-game losing streak. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Denard Span. Breaking ball. So he's at it again. Take a look at Span's numbers. Struck out 21 times, about 150 at bats. 2-2. And that gets away from Ellis, so down to second goes Jordan Zimmerman. Take another look. It hit the heel of the mitt, so that might make it a pass ball. We'll wait and see. All we do know is Zimmerman's at second, and it will be a pass ball. 3-2 to Span, and Lombardozzi on deck. Fastball fouled away. I think, yep, he twanged another one. I mean, I must say, I have the ear of a musical conductor when it comes not to broken bats, but twanger. All right. See if you can hear it. No. Isn't that funny? Couldn't hear it over the microphone down there, but sure could hear it up here. All right. 3-2. Still there. So Denard Span making the opposition pitcher work, and I think he kind of felt a twinge in his right hand on that swing. It's 6-1 Washington. Nobody out. Runner at second base. Fastball, soft line drive for one, no further play. So Span hits it to Schumacher, 1 out. And the batter will be Lombardozzi, who has struck out, reached on an error, and singled. Lombardozzi, the left fielder for Washington, came into the game hitting .228. Switch hitter, hitting about .350 right and about .150 left. Fastball lifted to center. Kemp is there. Zimmerman goes to the bag, but he's not about to tag. No way. So 2 out. Jordan Zimmerman at second base. And now Roger Bernardina coming up in place of Bryce Harper, who chased a wind-blown fly ball that wound up being a triple, and Bryce winding up back in the clubhouse, dazed at least. And a strike. Of course, Bernardina knows all about leaving the field with an injury. A couple of years ago, he was running to catch a ball hit by Florida's Dan Uggla and wound up hitting a wall in center field and broke his right ankle. 0-1. In the dirt. Nice save. 1 ball and 1 strike. Roger Bernardina, just coming into the game. He's from Curaçao in the Netherlands Antilles, so he probably knows Kenley Jansen. Originally signed by the Expos. One ball and 1 strike. And a strike. 1-2. With the Nationals last year, Roger had a good year. He hit .291. Not a lot of power, 5 home runs. 1 year for the Nationals. About 3 years ago, he hit 11. Just a good all-around ball player. 6'2", 200-pounder. In the dirt. So Jordan Zimmerman got a base hit, took second on the pass ball. Spann lined out to second. Lombardosi a fly ball to center. And now they're trying to get Bernardina. The Dodgers will have Crawford, Gordon, and Gonzalez in the bottom of the 6th. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Runner at second base. 6-1 Washington. Breaking ball pulled. Gonzalez, nice pick, overhands, too late. Bernardina able to beat the throw to first. On the play, Zimmerman goes to third. It'll be a base hit. That thing was in the hole. It's a nice play by Gonzalez to get to it. So with 2 out, they have runners at first and third. It wasn't close. Nice pick. The spotted throw too late. And the batter now will be Ryan Zimmerman. So Bernardina at first. Jordan Zimmerman at third. And here's Ryan. Robbed of a hit by Schumacher. Double to right. Hitting the right field wall. Right below the window of the visiting bullpen. And then last time up, hit a ball back to the box, and Javi Guerra had a lot of trouble with it. So Jordan Zimmerman at third with Bernardina at first. 2 out. 1 ball and no strikes to Big Ryan. Ryan Zimmerman, 1 home run. He has 17 runs batted in. Washington scored in the first, then 3 in the third, 2 in the 5th. The 2-0 pitch, 2-1. Hitting behind Ryan Zimmerman, the left-hand hitting Adam LaRoche, who singled to right to extend his hitting streak to 10. Two and one. Spot the fastball, but he missed. 3-1 to count to Ryan Zimmerman. Three balls, 1 strike. And ball 4 to load him up. So Howell gives up a single to Jordan Zimmerman. 2 outs later, Bernardina gets the infield single, then the walk to load him up. Adam LaRoche struck out, grounded out, single to right to drive in a run. Made a marvelous play on a bad hopper hit by Andre Ethier in the 4th inning that almost took his head off. That was some defensive play. And a strike. 0-1. Adam with a dozen runs batted in. He has 3 previous grand slams. He had 1 against Chad Billingsley 4 or 5 years ago. 1 ball and 1 strike. It's been Beckett, Guerra, and Howell against Jordan Zimmerman. One ball and 1 strike. 1-2. Adam LaRoche hitting just .214. The team batting average for Washington certainly doesn't frighten you. The overall team batting average is .231. Heck, the Dodger team batting average is .263. One and two. In the dirt, one hand save by A.J. That prevented a run. So deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. 6-1 Washington. Game 1 of the 3-game series. Clayton Kershaw going tomorrow night against Dan Harron. Matt McGill will draw Ross Detweiler Wednesday night, and then the Dodgers go on the road. 2-2 to Adam LaRoche. Got it. So LaRoche strikes out with the bases loaded. The Dodgers dodge a big bullet, and at the end of 5.5, it's 6-1 Washington. Dodger Baseball on Prime Ticket is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. By Time Warner. Enjoy all the things you love better. 1-855-WANT-TWC. And by El Pollo Loco. Crazy you can taste. Washington leading the Dodgers 6-1 as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. For Jordan Zimmerman, who is very much in control, you can see he has not had to work very hard in any inning at all. 15 pitches, the most in the 3rd. So through 5 innings, he's made 59 pitches, a hair under 12. At that route, he'd go 9 and make 108 pitches. So we'll see. He'll be facing Crawford, Gordon, and Gonzalez as the Dodgers try to get off the floor. Certainly, when you look at the box score, Washington has had ample opportunity to blow the Dodgers right out of the ballpark. I mean, they could have scored at least 10 by now, but they do have 6. And a strike to Crawford, who has struck out, fly to left. So Zimmerman has now made 60 pitches. Time. And that's hit down the left field line. A backhanded effort by Lombardozzi is to no avail. It bounces up into the stands, and Crawford with a ground rule double to left. For the Dodgers, they now have 5 hits, and the batter is D. Gordon. Crawford going down to get that one below the knees. There comes Lombardozzi, but never had a chance. So the ground rule double by Crawford. And now Gordon, Gonzalez, and Kemp trying to pick him up. That's a strike. Gordon tried to bunt for a base hit. They threw him out in the first inning. Single to center, stole second, and got as far as third in the fourth. And lifts it into straightaway center. Plenty of time for Span. So one away, and Adrian Gonzalez coming up.
For the Dodgers, first baseman, number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
Looking at the pitch count for Zimmerman, most pitches 107. So one out. He's only made 63 so far. And he jams Gonzalez. A little foul ball. It'll be the third baseman, Ryan Zimmerman. So Crawford opens up with a double, and the Dodgers yet to advance him, and that'll bring up Matt Kemp. Zimmerman has struck out 4. He's gotten Crawford, Ellis, Kemp, and Fedorovich. Matt saw some pretty good fastballs. He's 0 for 2. Has that 11-game hitting streak. Hit into a force play and struck out. Right, 0-1. Matt hitting .273. He's hit safely in 11. Runner going to third. The throw to third. He is safe. The Kyle Crawford steals third base. Kind of tough to do down by 5 and with 2 out. I mean, if you ever make the last out at third base down by 5, there'll be a lot of talking to. But he made it. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Fouled away. Crawford has now stolen 8 out of 10. I think what Carl was trying to do was just shake up the Washington infield, just as Gordon stole second back in the 4th inning, trying to make something happen. So Kemp up there, 1 ball and 2 strikes. That's that 94-mile-an-hour fastball. 2-2 the count. He got it down around the shoulders when he struck Kemp out in the 4th inning. 2-2. And popped up right side. LaRoche, Espinosa. It's Espinosa. And that'll be that. So the Dodgers get a double by Crawford, who steals third, but they lead him. And at the end of 6, 6-1 Washington. 6-1, top of the 7th inning, and Washington will have Desmond, Espinosa, and Suzuki in that order. Ian Desmond is 0 for 2. Grounded out, struck out, and walked. J.P. Howell made 31 pitches in the 6th inning, and he'll set sail in the 7th. Six runs, 7 hits for Washington, 1 run, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Kind of turned over a change, 2-0 the count. Ground ball wide of third. On it to make the play is Punto. And we have 1 out here in the 7th inning. MLB.com at bat. That's the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At bat delivers Dodger baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Dodgers.com. 1 away, 7th inning. Danny Espinosa struck out, robbed of a hit on a nice play by Nick Punto, and hit into a force play. Danny hitting just 184. The Washington offense, the things they do not do so well, they take a lot of called third strikes. For Davey, they don't put usually a lot of runners on base. The bench is not strong. In fact, pinch hitting is really weak. Foul back. The Washington pinch hitters are 7 for 48. That translates to a 146 batting average. And they do not have any runs batted in. We showed you a quick picture of Chad Tracy, who's pretty much their #1 pinch hitter. And Chad is just 1 for 13. Meanwhile, Espinosa goes down. Tracy, of course, you may remember, played so well for Arizona. So 2 out, and here's Kurt Suzuki. Washington has been retired in order twice, in the 2nd inning and in the 4th. Suzuki grounded to short, fly to left, fly to right, 0 for 3. Kurt's hitting .234. You wouldn't think it tonight in some ways, the fact that they've scored 6 runs, but then again, you saw so many people on base. Washington is well below the average in driving in base runners. 1 ball and 1 strike. One and 1. Ball 2. 2-1 to Kurt Suzuki. And that's probably banged into center. 2-out single by Suzuki will bring up Jordan Zimmerman.
27, Jordan Zimmerman.
6 runs, 8 hits for Washington, 1 run, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Jordan Zimmerman walked, came around, scored a run, struck out, single to left, and got as far as 3rd. 2 out. They have 1 out on the scoreboard, but there are 2 outs. That's a strike. To look ahead when the Dodgers come up in the bottom half of the inning, Ethier, Ellis, and Schumacher, if anybody gets on Punto. No balls and 1 strike. Ground ball to Gordon. He can feed his second baseman. He could have walked it over himself. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. At the end of 6.5, 6-1, Washington. They might pay a price, however. Bryce Harper losing track of the territory following a wind-blown fly ball, crashed into the scoreboard. There is a small wire fence in front of the scoreboard, and he obviously cut himself around the neck. We had to guess perhaps the chain that Bryce wears might have contributed to the cut. We pray he's fine and he will continue to play even in this series, because you love to see the good ones as much as you can. Meanwhile, remember the Twitter poll results of the 2 super sophomores, Mike Trout and Bryce Harper. Who do you think will have the greater career? Well, I guess we have a National League viewing audience, but anyway, they go to Bryce, 66%. But you know what? You're talking about 2 young players who have it all. But at the same time, in a game of baseball, all you need is 1 bad break, like Harper running into the wall. Meanwhile, Andre Ethier has hit the ball hard twice, and he's 0 for 2 for it. He talks about squaring the ball. He has hit 2 right on the screws. One of them took a bad hop and almost took Adam LaRoche's head off. How Adam Evers was able to reflex, stab at it, and knocked him on his back. And while seated, he threw the ball to Jordan Zimmerman. That was back in the 4th inning. It was a dazzling play. Meanwhile, Jordan Zimmerman 3-0. He has yet to walk him in, but he's right on the edge. 3-1. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Ronald Belisario begins to warm up. And lined into right field. Ethier finally gets a break after 2 hard ground balls to LaRoche. He singles to right. And the batter will be A.J. Ellis. It was A.J. Ellis who hit that ball up in the wind. And Bryce Harper, not knowing the real estate, even though he had played a couple of games here. Ball wind blown and he crashed into the wall. No further report from the Washington clubhouse. So we assume that's good news. Ellis 1 for 2 and a strike. 6-1 in favor of Washington. They had 1 in the first, 3 in the third, 2 in the fifth. The Dodger run came in the fifth. 0-1. Bouncer up the middle. Great stop by Desmond and gets him at first. Whoa, what a dandy play by Ian Desmond to take what looked like a sure base hit away from AJ. So down to second goes Ethier. But Desmond, what a pick. And then he's able to get up and throw his man out. So on the play, Ethier safely at second, but the Dodgers a whisker away from first and third. Instead have a runner at second and 1 out. The other day we were showing you a statistic showing the Dodgers were like second in on base percentage, and we were saying that looks good, but then you interpret and find out they're third from the bottom in runs scored. So they're getting men on and they're not doing anything about it. The Dodgers have gotten the leadoff man on in each of the last 5 innings. That's with Punto in the second, Gordon in the third, Ellis in the fourth, Crawford in the fifth, and now Ethier here in the seventh. But they only have 1 run. Schumacher, 2 ground balls to short and second, 0 for 2. Dodgers have used Beckett, Guerra, and Howell. They have Belisario in the bullpen. 1 and 2. So down goes Schumacher. 2 out with Ethier holding at second. And Nick Punto coming up. That's 5 strikeouts for Jordan Zimmerman. Zimmerman came in with 9 walks and 34 strikeouts. So he's on the beam and then some tonight with 5 strikeouts and no walks. Here's Punto, single, grounded out, 1 for 2. Scott Van Slyke out on deck, and that's a strike. So Scotty, who had the big day with a home run and a couple of fine defensive plays yesterday, on deck. Check. Punto got away with it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Nick hitting .343. Popped up into shallow left down the line. Desmond goes out calling, and then he's called off by Lombardozzi, and that's that. So a leadoff single, but nothing else at the end of 7, 6-1 Washington. long command. He's worked 7 innings as Jordan Zimmerman, allowing just 1 earned run. And the earned run was set up on the wind-blown triple that also cost Washington its young right fielder Bryce Harper. Ryan Zimmerman 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs. And as we said, Bryce Harper injured. We hope he's all right. Wish we could get a report from the Washington clubhouse to pass it along. Dodgers make a double switch. They bring in Uribe along with Belisario. So what they'll do is, since Punto made the last out, they'll put Belisario in Punto's spot. And Uribe will bat 9th, and he will lead off in the bottom of the 8th. Top of the order, Denard Span, who has singled to right, scored a run, struck out, flied to center. That was a great at bat, 11 pitches. And then last time up, lined out to second. As usual, when it comes down to runners in scoring position, usually a big difference between the winner and the team that's losing. Comebacker that gets right on through into center field. So Span up the middle with his second hit, and Lombardozzi will be the batter.
Batting next, left fielder number 1, Steve Lombardozzi.
Washington, with runners in scoring position, not doing well. They're only 3 for 13, but they knocked in 5 runs. The Dodgers have 1 RBI, but they're 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Jordan Zimmerman, through 7 innings, has made 83 pitches. Oh and 1. Lombardozzi struck out, reached on the error by Adrian Gonzalez, single to center, fly to center. He scored twice. 6-1 Washington. We're in the 8th. Dodgers with Beckett, Guerra, Howell, and Belisario. Tomorrow night, Clayton Kershaw will try to give the bullpen some rest. Dan Herron will be on the mound for Washington. Mark Ellis worked out around second base, seated alongside Clayton Kershaw in the Dodger dugout. Mark took quite a bit of infield. He's getting close to coming back. Meanwhile, Lombardozzi strikes out. So Schumacher and Punto have done a good job, but neither one of them has the overall ability of a Mark Ellis. Remember, he was hitting .342 when he went out with the injury. So 1 out. Roger Bernardina singled in the 6th inning, finishing up for Bryce Harper. 0-1. He hit the ground ball wide of first. Adrian Gonzalez made a fine play to get to the ball. Tried to get it to J.P. Howell, but Bernardina beat the play. 0-1 to Roger Bernardina. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ronald Belisario trying to give the Dodgers a little relief. He's 2-4, 9 walks, 16 strikeouts. Now back. The rough thing for Belisario, he's worked 17 1/3 innings, and he's allowed 20 hits. So he's out of the stretch most of the time. The paid attendance tonight, 32,337. 32,337. 2-2. Bernardina will be 29 the middle of June. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Check swing. He's still up there, 3-2. Roger spent a while, about 8 years in the minor leagues before he came up to the Nationals, only to go back down again. 3-2. Lifted to left field, going back, turning to his right. Crawford, that ball really carried. No wind, that thing just carried. So 2 down. Span holding at first, and the batter is Ryan Zimmerman.
To the plate, third baseman, number 11, Ryan Zimmerman.
Ryan Zimmerman robbed of a hit by Schumacher, but he did get an RBI. Then he doubled in a run, reached on an error, and walked. The error was the comebacker to Guerra, and Javi threw behind D. Gordon, who was going to the bag. And ball 1. Span at first, 2 out in the 8th. 6-1 Washington. They've led all the way. 1-0, 4-0, 6-0, 6-1. That's in there. 1 ball and 1 strike. And ball 2. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 8th, they will have Uribe, Crawford, and Gordon. And if anybody gets on, Adrian Gonzalez. 2-1 the count. Fastball pulled to third, backhanded by Uribe. The throw is on the money, and that's the inning. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. At the end of 7.5, time for the other Zimmerman, Jordan, go back to work. Josh only lasted 3 innings and gave up 3 hits and 4 runs, plus walking 2. For Zimmerman, he has pitched a strong 7. He's allowed just 1 earned run. He has not walked anybody while striking out 5. And in his 7 innings, he only made 83 pitches. Washington, by the way, in the bottom of the 8th will now make a change. Yuri Perez takes over in left field for Lombardozzi. And Jordan Zimmerman getting ready to pitch to Uribe, Crawford, and Gordon. And ball one. Two and 0 the count. Zimmerman, as far as the hardest inning, third inning, he made 15 pitches. So he's been doing it nice and neatly. Made 14 pitches in the last inning. In the second inning, he made only 6 pitches. And that's popped up into right field. Bernardina. So Uribe a fly ball, 1 away. That stops the string. Remember, we mentioned the Dodgers had gotten the leadoff man on base in 5 straight innings. But now Uribe goes out, and here is Crawford. Crawford struck out, flied to left in the 6th inning, doubled, and with 2 out, down 6-1, stole third. And you might say, why did he do that? I haven't got the slightest idea. Except I guess he thought he saw an opening and took it. They always say that the biggest crime is to make the 3rd out at third base. But Carl gambled, got away with it. Of course, he's also a very good base stealer. He certainly knows what he's doing. He's stolen 8 out of 10. We were checking with the Dodger publicity department to see if we could find anything new on Bryce Harper. That's a foul ball. And maybe no news is good news. Maybe there isn't really anything to report. Hope so. Bryce running into the scoreboard, leaving with a thin line of blood around his neck, where I would guess the chain he wears around his neck might have got caught up in the fence somehow. 2-2. Ball 3. 1 out in the 8th. 6-1 in favor of Washington. And that's hit into right field, base hit. So Crawford has a double and now a single. And the batter will be Gordon. 6 runs, 9 hits for Washington. 1 run, 7 hits for the Dodgers. D. Gordon tried to bunt and was thrown out. Single to center, stole second, got as far as third in the 4th inning, and flied to center in the 6th. It'll be interesting to see. We were telling you that base runners do not run on Zimmerman, yet Crawford stole third on him. Base stealers are 3 out of 4 against Zimmerman. Ground ball to the right side. They get 1 and not at first base. So it's a force place 4-6. That takes Crawford off the lines, and it'll bring up Adrian Gonzalez.
Dodgers first baseman, number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
Gonzalez singled to right to extend his hitting streak to 10. Since then, popped up and fouled out. So Adrian 1 for 3. Gordon stole second in the 4th inning. So actually, the Dodgers now have stolen 2 bases tonight, though the opposition is 4 out of 5 running against Jordan. 1 ball and no strikes. 2-0. To repeat, Clayton Kershaw tomorrow night against Dan Herron. Wednesday night, Matt McGill, and he'll go up against Ross Detweiler. There's Herron. 2-0. Ground ball into right field. Base hit. Going to second and holding is Gordon. Down by 5 late in the game. No sense gambling. So Dodgers with 2 hits in the inning. There has not been a ball thrown yet in the Washington bullpen. Zimmerman trying to win his 7th. Then you have Lance Lynn, and then Corbin, Miller, and Wainwright with 5. And they're going to get somebody up in the pen. And it's Tyler Clippard. So Clippard just begins to throw. And here's Matt Kemp. Kurt Suzuki out to talk to Zimmerman. Matt Kemp hit into a force play in the first inning. He hit the ball sharply enough, but it was right at Ryan Zimmerman. Then he struck out in the 4th, a 95-mile-an-hour fastball up around the shoulders. And then last time up, popped up. So Matt 0 for 3, his 11-game hitting streak on the line. Steve McCatty going out to the mound to find out what's going on. Well, McCatty certainly holding court, and Matt Kemp getting ready. Down in the pen, Tyler Clippard about ready if they need. And there's old pal Jim Lett. He's the bullpen coach. Jimmy worked here. You can't find a nicer man than Jim Lett, standing off to the left. All right, McCatty's had a few words with Jordan Zimmerman. 2 on, 2 out, and here's Kemp. 6-1 Washington. Oh and 1 to Matt. I'm not reading your mind. I'm just guessing. You'd like to know how many home runs Zimmerman has given up. He has allowed 2. Slider. 1 ball and 1. On deck, Andre Ethier, who has hit the ball hard all 3 at bats and is 1 for 3. 1-1 to Matt. Another slider, ball 2. Earlier in the game, a lot of fastballs. Now, suddenly throwing that big sweeping slider. Throw to second, not in time. Two and 1. Fastball hit into left field, base hit. Here comes Gordon. He will score without a play. So Matt Kemp gets a fastball for a base hit to left to extend his hitting streak to 12. The Dodgers cut the lead now 6-2. And for Zimmerman, who's not had to work hard, he's now got over the 100 pitch mark, 101. So the Dodgers with 3 hits in the inning. And here comes Davey. So that'll do it for Jordan. Here in the 8th inning, they will bring in Tyler Clippard as the Dodgers try to scramble back. So for Jordan Zimmerman, 101 pitches. He goes out leading by 4 with 2 base runners, so he can't lose. He can only win or no decision, and we'll be right back. Dodgers kept getting men on 5 innings in a row. They got the leadoff man on, but each inning they were just spinning their wheels. So Zimmerman gives up 9 hits, but nothing else. And the Dodgers scratch and claw and come up with 2. Now Tyler Clippard from Lexington, Kentucky, original strikeouts. So Clippard will now face Andre Ethier with 2 on, 1 in, and Washington leading 6-2. Clippard has been absolutely dynamite against left-hand hitters. Foul back. Left-hand batters against Clippard this year, 1 for 20. That would be a .050 percentage. He has a great changeup along with a fastball and a curveball. No balls, 1 strike. One and 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Even though he was picked by the Yankees, took him a little while, and he was with the Yankees for 6 games. He was 3-1, but he had a high ERA. He went back down to the minors and surfaced in 2008 with the Nationals, and he's been with them ever since. 1-1. 1-2. Tyler Clippard. Dodgers with 3 hits in the inning. They have Gonzalez at second. They have Kemp at first. A.J. Ellis in the on-deck circle. And Adrian Gonzalez, as you know, is very, very difficult to score on a base hit. 1-2. Out in front of that off-speed pitch. That came up there at 82. All right, 1-2 again. 2-2. Tyler Clippard does not have a wild pitch. That came to mind after that last pitch to Ethier. It was 84 degrees when the game started, and he's blowing on his hand to get a better grip. Light breeze blowing to right. Deuce is wild. So 3-2 with 2 out. Dodgers get a break. They can start Gonzalez along with Kemp and A.J. Ellis on deck. But Gonzalez is the man. So if you can get him going, you have a little edge. 6-2 Washington. Dodgers trying to get off the floor. The 3-2 pitch. Runners go, and it's lifted down the left field line. Perez coming over near the chalk, makes the catch, and that's that. So the Dodgers spin their wheels, get 1, and at the end of 8, 6-2 Nationals. Guerrier will be the 5th Dodger pitcher. It was Beckett, then Guerra, then Howell, then Belisario, and now Matt Guerrier. In the 9th inning, Matt's getting ready to pitch to LaRoche, Desmond, and Espinosa. Adam LaRoche struck out, grounded out, single to right field, knocked in a couple, and last time up struck out. 6 runs, 9 hits, 1 error for Washington, 2 runs, 9 hits, 2 errors for the Dodgers. All right, Guerrier about ready, so is LaRoche, and here we go. Off the plate, ball 1. Tyler Clippard, by the way, came in and made 7 pitches and took care of Ethier and the Dodgers. That's a strike, 1-1. Foul back. Hope you'll be with us tomorrow night. Dan Herron going up against Clayton Kershaw. And then the concluding game of the series and the homestand, Ross Detweiler, and he'll go up against Matt McGill. Dodgers then go out on the road to Atlanta and Milwaukee, and then they're home to play St. Louis and the Angels. Still 1-2 the count to Adam LaRoche. Well, I still can't get over that play he made on the ball hit by Ethier in the 4th inning. If you ever wonder about the remarkable reflexes of major league players, that was it. I mean, Ethier scorched it. The ball took a terrible bad hop, and he was able to react to it and make the play. He also strikes out a 3rd time, and we have 1 down in the 9th. So Guerrier takes care of LaRoche, and now Ian Desmond. Desmond is 0 for 3. He made a wonderful play behind the bag on a ground ball that looked like a sure base hit by A.J. Ellis and turned it into an out. Ball 1. Washington began the night 1 game behind Atlanta. Dodgers began 7 behind the Giants. 1-1. Ball 2. To look ahead when the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 9th, Ellis, Schumacher, and we'll have a hitter for Guerrier. By the way, for Washington, they'll get the news Atlanta pounded Arizona 10-1. So they're going to stay in first place anyway. Giants were off. 2-2 the count to Ian Desmond. And he strokes it into left field for a base hit. So that'll bring up Danny Espinosa, who was 0 for 4, struck out twice, robbed of a hit on a nice play at 3rd by Nick Punto. Six runs, 10 hits, 1 error for Washington, 2 runs, 9 hits, 2 errors for the Dodgers. Danny hitting 183. There used to be an expression in baseball, you don't seem to hear it anymore, but if you hit less than 200, you were under the Mendoza line. And that's ball one. However, the young shortstop of the Pirates, Mario Mendoza, and I remember seeing the signs in Pittsburgh, trabaja con gusto, work with gusto. His lifetime batting average was .215. So it's really a misnomer about the so-called Mendoza line. I'm sure you're particularly thrilled to hear about that right about now. 2-0 the count, ninth inning, 6-2 Washington. On deck, Kurt Suzuki. Man from Maui. Two and 0. And a high fly ball in the gap. Here comes Crawford, backhanded on the run. Nice play by Carl. So 2 out in the ninth inning. And the batter will be Kurt Suzuki as we take another look. Carl Crawford, eyes right on the ball, not worrying about Matt Kemp. And let's face it, Kemp is somebody to worry about out there. Good play. Suzuki has grounded out, hit 2 fly balls, and single to center. So Kurt is 1 for 4, hitting .244. The whiz from Wailuku. Chad Tracy, we were talking about Chad a little while ago. The fact that they are really struggling in the pinch hitting department. Chad particularly, he's their number 1 pinch hitter, 1 for 13. Of course, it is an awfully tough job. In there. When the Dodgers come up in the ninth, they're due to send up Ellis, Schumacher, and a hitter for the pitcher, and then Uribe. Dodgers available, Ramon Hernandez and Scott Van Slyke. Foul back. Hernandez, the backup catcher, especially since Fedorovich was already used. 0-2 the count to Kurt Suzuki. No balls, 2 strikes. There goes the runner, and a high fly ball, right center, Ethier. That'll be that. So no runs, 1 hit, a man left. And we are heading for the bottom of the ninth, 6-2 Washington. Into the bottom of the ninth. If you notice, the Dodgers have been reasonably busy getting base hits. As we told you, there was a stretch of 5 straight innings where they had the leadoff man aboard, but they've only managed to score 2 runs, despite the fact almost everybody but Schumacher in the pitcher spot has at least 1 hit. So they have 9 hits, but only 2 runs to show for it. And here in the bottom of the 9th inning, they'll have Ellis, Schumacher, and then we assume they will have Scott Van Slyke. On the mound, Drew Storen out of Indianapolis, Indiana. He went to Stanford University, selected by the Nationals only 4 years ago. Graduate of Brownsburg High School in Indiana. He had a scholarship to Stanford. He could have signed with the Yankees, who drafted him in the 34th round back in 2007. Scouts knew that he was too tough a sign because he had committed to Stanford. Sure enough, he went there, and his major, mechanical engineering. He and the Cardinals' Lance Lynn were teammates. So Drew Storen, S-T-O-R-E-N, and A.J. Ellis at the plate. Starts in fastball for a strike, and the count 0-1. A.J. Ellis struck out, had a wind-blown triple to right field that cost the Nationals the services of Bryce Harper. Sliced down the line, foul, 0-2. Harper, with the ball over his head, was looking back up at the ball and ran face first right into the scoreboard in right field. Knocked him down. He had a thin thread of blood around his neck and came off the field obviously shaken up. And we certainly trust and pray he's okay. 0-2 the count to A.J. Ellis. Fastball 1-2. One and two. I'm not sure why or how they kept track of it, but they were talking about Storen, who studied product design at Stanford, even designs his own shoe patterns for fun. They say last year he used 37 baseball caps. Okay. A little breaking ball slider fouled off. Fastball, slider, curve, and a change. All reports about Drew Storen. Funny guy, comedian like his dad, extroverted, so friendly. 2-2. Sliced foul. The Dodgers tonight, another frustrating note. They certainly have had their chances even against a top pitcher like Jordan Zimmerman. The Dodgers were 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Two and two. Got it. So A.J. Ellis strikes out. 1 out in the ninth. Skip Schumacher coming up.
Skip Schumacher.
Rising fastball, and he just under it. We mentioned a little while ago when Drew Storen was at Brownsburg High School, his classmate and teammate was Lance Lynn of the Cardinals. So it's a note of irony. If Storen finishes up for Zimmerman would then move ahead of Lance Lynn for the Major League in wins. Jordan would have 7, Lance has 6. Scott Van Slyke waiting on deck. 0-1. And that's lifted down the left field line. Perez coming over to pick that off. So the Dodgers now down to their last out, and Scott Van Slyke will come up and hit
Attention,
for
please.
Guerrier.
Dodgers, pinch hitting number 33, Scott Van Slyke.
So Scotty, who homered and made a couple of dazzling plays at first base yesterday, now comes up to hit for Guerrier. Six runs, 10 hits, and 1 error for Washington. 2 runs, 9 hits, and 2 errors for the Dodgers. Last year, Washington lost all 3 games here, and now trying to get the jump this year. 0-1. Fastball. Scott late. A 94-mile-an-hour fastball, you can imagine. Been sitting in the dugout since 7 o'clock. And you go up and get a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Oh and 2 to Scott Van Slyke. 1-2. And that stayed inside. 2-2 the count. Storn has made 13 pitches. Juan Uribe waiting on deck. Fastball, big chopper wide of third. Ryan Zimmerman makes the play, and that's it. Dodgers tiptoe through the 9th. Final score, 6 runs, 10 hits, and an error for Washington. 2 runs, 9 hits, 2 errors for the Dodgers. Tomorrow night, Clayton Kershaw on the mound, and that'll be on KCAL 9. Stay tuned for Dodgers Live coming up next. Good night, everybody.